Hello again, I am Blunty. Last night DG Direct held a special launch party to celebrate the Nikon DF hitting shelves, and it was a ton of fun. Now, about that Nikon DF. While I've not spent enough time with it yet to slam together a proper review as such, I did take the chance last night to get to grips with it, see how it feels, see how it works, and what it's like to actually use. And honestly, I was surprised. In truth, I thought it was a bit of a gimmick camera, and it kind of is, but it's a gimmick that totally pays off. Now, whatever you think about this retro-designed, old-school-looking chunky beastie, the instant you pick it up and start actually shooting with it, it all starts to make sense. It's both chunkier than you may expect, but also lighter than you may expect. In fact, it's surprisingly light. The buttons and dials all have a very satisfying mechanical robustness about them. And while I think it's fair to say it's hardly the most ergonomic camera I've ever used, it didn't feel clumsy or awkward. Here's a few shots I snapped off on the night. It's not my finest work, as obviously I couldn't wander far from the store and the event that was going on. And of course it was day one, hour one of me actually hands-on with the camera, so I was still learning my way around the controls. The new kit lens isn't actually new. It's precisely the same optics as Nikon's existing 50mm f1.8 lens, but that's good news because I already know that that lens is very, very good. All Nikon have done here is give it a more classically inspired casing, so it looks and feels more in tune with the rest of the DF experience. And you know what, the same is kind of true of the DF itself. Nothing inside is really new as such. What lives inside this old school shape is pretty much the Nikon D4. Same sensor, same processing engine. The DF doesn't have the video mode though, like at all, which is a bit annoying, but it is in step with the pure photography philosophy behind the DF. And it's also got a different shutter mechanism, so rapid fire burst rate is a bit slower than the D4, capping off at 5.5 shots a second instead of 10, and the maximum shutter speed is 0.004 of a second instead of the D4's 8,000. So while it is slightly down on the feature set compared to Nikon's top-end pro shooter, it is also significantly cheaper too. Where the D4 starts at about 6,600, you can get a DF for a little over 3,000 for the body, and under 3.5 for the kit lens option. And speaking personally, that makes it very attractive because I loved the D4 when I reviewed it, except for the fact that it was kind of huge and very, very expensive, so it was very difficult for me, not a professional shooter, to justify owning one. But the DF... So it's not exactly the most affordable full-frame shooter around, but all things considered, it's packing almost all of the punch of its D4 heritage, the top end of Nikon's, the best of the best. And that makes it a very interesting value proposition indeed. All in all, the first impression was a very strong one. As I said, I began with a fairly high level of skepticism about this funny little throwback with the grown-up guts inside, as indeed many people were after the announcement of the DF. But with every click of the shutter, I grew more and more enamored with it. Every time I pulled it up to my eye, it made more and more sense. So that's it for my quick first hands-on impression of the Nikon DF. It's a much more interesting camera than I originally thought it was. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.